This is Fountain Street Church.
I find it hard to find the best ones, but somehow, like I said, you'll hear what I'm trying to say even when the words
Here,
aren't right.
we strive to free the mind, grow the soul, and change the world. Here, there is freedom to doubt and freedom to believe. Here, you can find a house of prayer for all people.
The swallow of Jonah.
Welcome to Fountain Street Church. Join us on the journey.
It is so good to be here with you this evening. And I want to tell you a little bit about how tonight came to be before we get started with our pageant. You see, a couple of years ago, when I first started working here and serving among you, and first started doing this pageant, I started thinking, I wonder how much this pageant really makes sense to the kids who are in it. And in the years that I've been here, we've started doing things a little differently in our learning ministries. We've started asking kids what they wonder about, trying to activate their religious imaginations. And last year, the sixth graders, part of their imagination said, we want to rewrite the Bible. And I said, well, that's a big task. But I thought, great, that means you'll get to read it. And I encouraged them to start with the Christmas story, which they did. Now, I've never actually seen what they rewrote, and I'm looking forward to getting that someday. But then this year, a group of folks stepped forward and said, we want to help with the Christmas pageant. And we heard you had some ideas. And I said, yeah, what do you think the Christmas story would look like if it happened in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 2009? Because as you'll hear me say a little bit more about later, I think the Christmas story is as meaningful as we can see it in our daily lives. Because if the birth of Jesus and what that signifies isn't something we can see as we look around us, then we're not looking right and we're not listening right. So I invite you tonight, through the eyes and the religious and spiritual imaginations of our children and their leaders, to imagine Christmas, Grand Rapids, 2009.
This is the story of hope, the birth of the baby destined to change the world, and the real meaning of Christmas.
I have traveled many moonless nights, cold and weary, with a babe inside, and I wonder what I've done. Holy Father, you have come and chosen me now to carry your Son. I am waiting in a silent prayer. I am frightened by the load I bear in a world as cold as stone. Must I walk this path alone? Be with me now. Be with me now. you watch my face. If a wiser one should have had my place, but I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. Help me be strong, help me be, help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, breath of heaven.
In the early days of the 21st century, many Americans were struggling to make ends meet. Because many jobs had shifted south and overseas, Michigan felt the economic downturn especially hard. Most people knew a friend, a neighbor, or a family member who had lost work. Joseph and Mary had been living in Detroit, and they were blessed to be expecting the birth of their first child. This joyful time for them was overshadowed by the fact that Joseph had recently lost his job in the auto industry. Deciding that it was time for a change, Joseph and Mary returned to the place of Mary's birth, Grand Rapids, to seek work and a fresh start on life. It was a difficult move for both of them. The winter weather was bitter and the night skies clear, but the temperatures very cold. Maybe even sleet covered the ground. Mary was near the end of her pregnancy, and upon arrival to Grand Rapids, she was ready to deliver her baby. Joseph was divided between the pride of being a father and the worry of what the future held for their new family.